Welcome to another episode of Straight Like That, the podcast hosted by me, Camille. Today we've got Brianne Reed joining us for an episode to talk about her journey in the game. Welcome to the pod, Bree.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on.
Of course. But first, let's shout out the sponsors. Tasty Mates, a gourmet gummy suite based in London, England. Organically made gummies that come in a few different flavors. They just recently put out a new passion fruit flavor. So be sure to check them out, link in bio for that. And Club DS. Club DS is a streetwear brand based out of Los Angeles. The word 10 means the number 10 in Spanish. And the number 10 in soccer is always the player that brings the most joy, creativity, and takes risks. Inspired by their Mexican roots and the number 10 in the beautiful game, Club DS created the mantra of Siempre con Alegría, which translates to always with joy. The message of the brand stems deep in the Los Angeles community, and the aim is to spread this message to other communities around the world. The mission is to remind people that no matter what you're going through, do it with joy. Life is full of ups and downs, but you will always be able to overcome any obstacle. A little bit of positivity, faith, and joy will go a long way. Siempre con alegría. Let's get straight to it. So why soccer? How'd you get into the sport?
Honestly, a lot of it was by chance and by accident. I didn't grow up in a soccer family. My dad played basketball at the collegiate level. My mom's not a gymnast. My sister's a dancer, or my mom's not an athlete. My sister's a dancer, and gymnastics was like my first love. But when I was 5, a friend of mine was like, their dad said, "You should come to training. We have soccer practice after school and we're going to get McDonald's after." And I said, "Sure, why not?" And seriously, that was the start of my story. I went to the first training. I ended up going on and playing club with her and everything, but it was a very random start to soccer.
Wow. So did you fall in love with it instantly, or did you did it take some time to get into
Oh,
it?
it definitely took time. I think I
Okay.
played for a long time just because my friends did, and
Hmm.
I was very energetic as a child. So I did gymnastics, I did basketball, I did soccer, I ran track. So I gymnastics was my love for a long time.
Hmm.
And then once I stopped that, then I was like, all right, I'm going to put a little more effort into soccer. But truly, I don't think I started to love the game until I got to like the college level, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Now, did
it
soccer
took a
make you
while.
did soccer make you kind of go away from gymnastics, or did you just kind of do that independently?
I had an injury in gymnastics, and prior to
Okay.
that, I was fearless. I would do anything. And then after that one injury, I just kind of saw gymnastics differently. And I had a coach that I really like. He moved on. And then soccer was just kind of sitting there waiting for me. And I was like, maybe if I put time and effort into it the same way I was putting into gymnastics, who knows what could come of this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. So, where did you grow up? And what was like the soccer community like over there?
So I'm from New Jersey. Well, I was born in New York, but I've lived in New Jersey my whole life. And soccer here has been around for a long time. So I know a lot
Hmm.
of people in their communities. They were like, when I was younger, I had to play with boys because we didn't have girls team. That was never an issue for me. There were always girls teams around my areas. Um, it was around a lot, and a lot of my friends played, and I think that's probably why I ended up getting into it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, talk to us about your youth days. Did you go straight into club like a highly competitive club scene, or was it kind of just like YMCA? The fires and the stars teams and all
Yep,
that.
it was 100% the rec league.
Okay.
And I think my parents, and I don't blame them, they probably were like, you know what? What if she's not good? We're not going to spend all this money if she's not even good at soccer.
Right, right.
So I just played for my local teams. Then I started to realize that maybe I had a little bit more talent, but still, I never traveled more than 20 minutes to training. I played for
Wow.
my local club for, I don't know, maybe up until I was 13. Then I moved to another club still. That club was only 20 minutes away. So I kept it very local. I knew both of my parents were working. They didn't really have
Hmm.
the time to be able to drive me up to the PDAs of the world or anything like that. Um, and like I said, this I'm in Monmouth County, so there's just a lot of soccer around this area and good level players that I felt like I was getting enough. And because soccer wasn't my first love, and I wasn't trying to go to the Olympics or anything like that, like what I had was great for the time being. I felt like I was in a good competitive environment.
Hmm.
I was if I wasn't number one on the team, like I was number two, maybe chasing number one. So I felt like I was still growing. And I think that was a good environment for someone who maybe didn't know where they wanted to go in soccer. I felt confident in the environment that I was in. I wasn't like, sad because I was sitting the bench or
Hmm.
really hoping that I was going to get called into a youth national team camp. None of that was on my radar. I was really just playing because it was fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when did it turn a little bit more serious for you where you're like, wow, I'm good. I kind of need to be challenged more. What age was that?
Um, Probably in high school. So I went
Okay.
to Red Bank Catholic, which is a school here that's pretty dominant in New Jersey for soccer. And I started to see some of the talent of the other players around me and just the different clubs that they were playing at. And I was like, oh, I can hang with these girls. Maybe it's time to try a new environment. And I think I went to another club nearby that was a little more competitive, and we were going to more showcases and things like that that was going to get me more exposure because at that point I
Hmm.
was starting to realize that maybe I could play in college.
Okay.
And again, my sights were set pretty low. I was like, if I can make it at a D3 school, like that'd be awesome. Like I get to play, maybe get a scholarship, still get my degree, like that would be great. Um, so it was just a really interesting way to get to where I was because I just never really had that big dream of this is
Hmm.
going to be my career. I really just rode the wave of I'm enjoying this for a long time.
Wow. So it's safe to say that throughout this whole process, you just kind of enjoyed every step and every challenge that came along.
100%.
Ah, that's amazing. So you realized in high school that you were good enough to hang around, right? When did the whole college idea come up? Like, wow, okay, maybe I could play not just D3, but like a D1, high D1.
Probably either my sophomore or junior year. So my freshman year, I played JV. And then after that, I made the varsity team. And strange enough, I actually got recruited through high school. I know that's not the
Hmm.
path for most players, but because I was playing in a state championship against another really competitive team in New Jersey, there was a girl on that team who was committed to Rutgers, and the coach came to watch her play. She was a forward, I was a defender, and I kind of spent the entire game marking her, trying to shut her down and make sure she wasn't a threat in the game. And I did a good enough job that I ended up getting contacted by the coach after that. And that's what really kind of opened my eyes. I was like, oh, this isn't a D3 school. Like at the time they were in the Big East. I was like, this is a
Yeah.
Big East school. If they think I'm good enough to play, then maybe I need to broaden my horizons a little bit and look to see where else I might be able to play.
Okay, and then so what happened after that? So you're going against a player that's targeted by Rutgers. Obviously, it sounds like you shut her down or did very well to gain
I did.
interest
I'll give
from
myself
Rutgers.
that.
So what happened after that? So once you realized, wow, okay, I could do this. There's Rutgers coach watching me. What kind of made you, or what did you do next, really, looking,
Yeah.
for more schools and everything?
It's not as popular anymore, but there was a program called ODP, the Olympic Development Program.
Hmm.
And I was part of that. And the coach for Rutgers was the coach for my age group. And I went to, I think, one of their regional camps or something out in California. And then I
Oh,
started getting
wow.
contacted by bigger schools like Miami reached out, USF, Louisville. And I was like, oh my
Wow.
gosh, like what have I been doing this whole time? Not realizing kind of, I guess, the talent that I had.
Yeah.
Um, but at that point, I always thought I wanted to go to a big school and like away from home and have the full college experience. So I
Yeah.
didn't really consider Rutgers until I went on my visit, and I just felt like I'd been in small schools, small private schools my whole life. I was like, I want a big school. I want all the experience that college has to bring. And the fact that it's only 35, 40 minutes from my house and my parents were going to be able to come to
Hmm.
games that I could go home when I needed to. Um, it just felt like a really good environment for me. I went on the official visit and I was like, this feels like a good place. And for me, academics was still something that was important. And it was a great balance of an academic school with a soccer program that was going to be competitive.
Okay. So when did you commit to Rutgers?
I think I was definitely late. These were the days where you could commit in like eighth grade
Right,
to
right, right.
college. So I committed my junior year. I
Oh
think
yeah,
the
you
end
were
of my
late,
junior
huh?
year. I think
Hmm.
I was either the last or the second to last of my recruiting class. So I really snuck in there.
Right. That's kind of crazy too that, with girls soccer versus boys soccer in high school, girls are committing like at that time at least, I don't know what it is present day, seventh, eighth, ninth grade
Crazy.
to like high D1s versus boys like it was, like almost a summer going into your senior year where you go ahead and commit and it could go all the way to like April of your senior year. So
Yep.
so committing early, did that kind of like give you a sense of relief, the rest of high school? Like, wow, I got college figured out. As long as I maintain everything and stay healthy, I'm good.
I think so. I definitely didn't rest on it because I knew at that point Rutgers was kind of like a stretch school for me. I knew that that wasn't a school that I was going to be going to, that I was going to be playing 90 minutes every game straight out my freshman year. So I think I kind of always had it in my brain of like great job, you've committed, you've got yourself a school, congratulations. But I knew that I still needed to work harder to be able to not get totally swamped when I
Hmm.
got there my first year. So actually, Mike O'Neill, who's the head of PDA and now the head coach at Rutgers, my local club team, they folded. All the girls had gone off to college or whatever it was. And he was like, you have to come to PDA. And to me, that was like a stab in the heart. Like I had done most of my youth career without having to go to these big giants, and I was very proud of.
Yeah,
But I understood that he wanted me to get into the PDA
yeah.
environment, get used to that competitiveness, get used to the style of play, the speed of play. And I do think it was a great transition for me to be able to go there and almost feel like I was dipping my toe into the water of that next level of soccer because I had not faced it at that point.
And what was it like training in that with that club? Did it kind of challenge you? Did it make you ever feel like, "Ooh, I might not be that good for this"?
It definitely challenged me.
Okay.
I don't think I started every game. I think I ended up starting to play more minutes once I kind of got a bit more comfortable with the style of play. But I was also playing with girls that were committed to like UVA and Notre Dame.
Damn.
So I definitely felt like a small fish in a big pond again and kind of had to get my bearings about, okay, this is what the college level is going to be like. You kind of need to step it up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So talk to us about the transition from high school to Rutgers. What was like kind of that first preseason and first season like?
It was shocking,
Really?
especially the fitness level. I have never been a fitness person. I do the tests and I may become middle of the pack, but my roommate is the kind that can run for days. And I
Yeah.
remember running with her my freshman year. We were doing the Man U, and I got out at whatever level I needed to be able to pass.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
just pass. Yep.
And she just kept going and she looked like a ghost. Like her
Oh
face was
my.
sheet white. And I was like, oh my gosh, these girls are fit. Like I there's probably more I need to do because I knew at that point I don't think my skill set was going to get me on the field yet.
Hmm.
So I had to have whether it was going to be my speed or my strength or my fitness, I needed other factors that were going to have me considered to be able to play. And that freshman year, I am a center back by trade. I guess you could say a defender, but I feel most comfortable as a center back. And they had me playing fullback every now and then randomly in games. And I was like, all right, I'll do it if it means I'm going to play, but I have no
Yeah.
idea what I'm doing out here. I've never played in this position. So I just kind of had to rely on my strength and speed. And it was enough to get me. I think I played in almost all of the games. I didn't start, but I got minutes in almost all of the games. And for me, that was a successful freshman year because
Yeah.
I was like, I just need to understand what the heck's going on in this environment. And then I can use my sophomore year, junior year going forward. I can start to develop a bit more, but I need them to see that I belong in this program and that I deserve a chance.
Did you ever have like a, you know how they say like welcome to the league moment or whatever, but did you have one of those in college when your
Oh,
first
yeah.
games?
Um, we played pretty much every year we would play UVA.
Hmm.
And our freshman year, I think we played them and we lost 6-0.
Ooh.
And I hadn't lost like that in a game in a long time. And again, I was like, oh, I'm at Rutgers. Like, this is a competitive school. Like, we must play
Hmm.
pretty good soccer. And then we went there and got smacked. And I was like, oh, we're just children amongst women. So that was my moment that I was like, okay, I thought Rutgers was good, but there's a whole extra step up of level that I haven't even seen yet. And I feel like that was just a lot of my career, not realizing how much more there was in front of me.
Yeah, yeah. So was that 6-0 game kind of like a dominant performance by them? Or was it more like, yeah, we're kind of battling, just, ball didn't bounce the right way?
No, no, no. It was definitely dominant. We were just trying to hold on and make sure it didn't get any worse than it was.
Jeez. Yeah, that is a welcome to, college soccer.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you were saying you played almost all games your freshman year. Was it mainly at center back or was it like kind of just throw you on the field anywhere just to get you on?
It was mostly at fullback.
Okay.
And I remember one game, I can't remember who we played, but my coach looked over at me and he goes, "Have you ever played center mid?" And I was like,
Damn.
"No, I've never played center mid. I've never played midfield at all." And I remember thinking in that moment, I was like trying to debate. I was like, should I tell him, yes, I played center mid just so I can get another
Hmm.
moment on the field? Or am I honest and say, no, I haven't? Because I also didn't want to go into the game thinking that he thought I knew what I was doing. And then I look like a chicken with my head cut off running
Yeah.
around. So I told him honestly, I was like, I have never played midfield before, and you're probably better off not putting me there. And I knew that was
Wow.
a risk
Yeah, that
because
is.
I didn't want him to think that I didn't want to be on the field or that I didn't want to be there. But I also thought it was going to be a detriment to the team putting me in the midfield at that time.
Wow. Wow. At least honesty paid off then, huh?
I
Save
know,
yourself from any
doesn't
humiliation.
always, but
Right. So yeah, so talk to us about, sophomore, junior, every season pretty much kind of at Rutgers where you kind of, you know, going up like this, playing
yeah.
wise, skill wise, everything.
So my sophomore year, I had come in more fit, more ready, understanding of what the college soccer life was about. And I was fully ready to fight for my spot. I was like, I want to play center back this year. I did my time. I served my time playing
Hmm.
fullback, but I want my center back spot. And funny enough, I think it was a few weeks into preseason, the center back who should have been starting quit. She was just like,
Oh,
I don't want to do this. Like, it's just too much commitment. I don't love it anymore.
oh
So
wow.
lo and behold, a center back spot opened up. And whether or not they were ready to play me, I think I was maybe the only other center back that was a true center back. And I was like, what are you going to do now? You don't have a choice.
Right. Kind of force
You
you
have
in
to
there
play.
now. Hmm.
So it just really felt like a light shining, like this is your moment. Are you going to take
Yeah.
it? What are you going to do with it? Which was really exciting because I felt like then they were able to invest in me more as a defender and build me and teach me their system and the defensive ways. Because up until that point, like I said, I played for my local clubs. My tactical understanding was very low. I
Hmm.
probably didn't learn the game the way that I know it now until I was in college and we started breaking down film and talking about positioning. Prior to that, I hadn't had experience with any of that. So my sophomore year was just my year to get my feet wet as a center back.
Yeah.
And I was paired with another girl from my grade, and we kind of made this like center back duo. We were both center backs. We had different skill sets. So I was probably like strong and powerful and could hit a great long ball. She was more creative, maybe was going to go on the dribble, distribute better. And I just feel like we made a really great pairing. And
Hmm.
from sophomore year to senior year, we played next to each other probably every game and just built this
Wow.
like, really strong bond um, that I think playing with her helped me and probably vice versa. That I just started to feel so confident. And I think you maybe saw it on my bio or whatever you maybe looked up, but each year for me just kept getting better and better and better. And I think it was because I had the confidence, I had the understanding. I was starting to really come into who I was as a player. I had a coaching staff that believed in me. I had teammates that believed in me, and I think that just boosted me up so much to be able to have a really successful college career.
That sounds amazing. You were telling the story, and I was just caught like, wow, like, because you're saying that your 3 seasons there, you're starting every game, and you have such a good connection with your parent at center back. Coaching
Mhm.
staff trusts you. I mean, the confidence got to be through the roof.
It really was. Like I remember and I know this isn't every college player's experience. Like there's a lot more roller coasters and up and downs. And sure, we lost games that I was upset about,
Hmm.
but I never really remember like fearing for my spot or like
Wow.
someone going to come and take my spot because I think I just finally had so much belief in myself that I wasn't worried about that. I was just like,
Hmm.
play your game, perform well, and that's probably going to keep you on the field. If you're going to be off the field, you're probably your own worst enemy, and you did this to yourself.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I just had so much confidence, and I just felt so good going into each game, and the players that I was playing with and that I had around me. It was a great environment.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you had a great mentality in order to perform just like that. So you're just balling 3 seasons in a row. Did professional soccer become a thing? Or were you thinking like, like college might be it for me, I'm gonna go out on top? Or was, let me go ahead and find a next challenge?
No, I was definitely of the mindset of I was going to graduate. Sorry to my parents, but I convinced them that I was going to go to medical school, and I somehow convinced myself. And then I shadowed one doctor, and I was like, I hate blood. I don't want to do this. So then I was like, okay, but I'm still going to just graduate and move on because she's a good friend of mine now, but my friend Shannon, she was the senior center back when I was a freshman. And she went on to go play professionally. And I remember thinking to myself, and I've told her this, I was like, Shannon, like, you were supposed to go to medical school. Like, go be a doctor, go make your money. Like, why are you still playing?
Hmm.
And here I am after playing 9 years professionally. Like, that came and turned around and bit me.
Right,
But
right.
I really didn't consider it because, sure, at the time, Sky Blue was playing at URSAC, which was our home college field. So I had
Hmm.
seen games, but I never saw that for myself until I came around to my senior year. Things were going well. We had a Final Four run, and I think I gained enough exposure that I was finally like, I maybe could do this. And I was
Hmm.
realizing, like you said, it was a slow burn for the love of soccer. And
Hmm.
when I came down to my senior year last game, I was like, I don't want to be done. I feel like I'm just starting to grow and to learn and to understand. And I feel like I have more in me. So it was probably early in my senior year that I started to consider, like, you know what, maybe I could try and play pro, like at least go for it and see what happens.
Right, right. So what were your next steps once you got to that point?
I declared for the draft after the our Final Four run.
Hmm.
I just put it in there because I was like, why not? We'll see what happens.
Hmm.
And truly, if we didn't have such a successful senior year, I don't know that I would have been on the radar to have been drafted. But I put my name in the draft. Um, I had my coach had conversations with Sky Blue at the time, potentially going there. But then I went to the draft only because my coach told me, he gave me a nudge. It was in Baltimore, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get picked. Why am I going to go to the draft and sit there for my name not to get called? Like that would
Hmm.
be mortifying. And he was
Yeah,
like, you should go to the draft. And I was like, all right, you know what? It's in Baltimore, 3 hour drive. I'll bring my family with me. Fine.
yeah.
Um, and then I end up getting selected in the second round by Kansas City, which it was a bit of a shock because I had Sky Blue on my radar, but I had had a phone call with Kansas City earlier in January where they kind of expressed interest. But I remember thinking at the time, I was like, Kansas City, like, what's in Kansas City? I don't want to be drafted to Kansas City. And of course, that's the team that I got drafted to.
That is wild. So can we backtrack real quick? When you say you
Sure.
declared for the draft, what all do you have to do? Like how do you get your name into this pool? How do you know that you are like in the thought of being selected by some of these teams?
the so they don't have it anymore, obviously, but at the time it was literally just a form. And you put your name in, your information, where you went to school. Um, like it wasn't a long form, it wasn't extensive.
Yeah.
It was basically just almost like an expression of interest for players. So any player who had any thought of maybe I want to go pro, you would declare your name, you'd fill out this form to
Hmm.
put your name in the draft so that these NWSL coaches would know that you were graduated and available.
Okay. Okay. I see. I see. And then when it came to getting in contact with you, how did teams do that?
I think they must have gone through my coach because
Okay.
I didn't give out, unless we put our contact, maybe I put my email and phone number on there. Because I remember when Kansas City called, I was like, how did you find me? But I probably put my information on the contact sheet.
Yeah, okay, that
But I
makes
think a
sense.
lot of it was probably the NWSL coaches probably contacting my head coach at Rutgers and
Hmm.
maybe, asking about me and my experience and how it was coaching me for them to
Hmm.
get an idea, and then maybe they pass the contact along that way.
Yeah, okay. And what was the process like during draft day itself? Where was like like what was the venue like? What was the setup like? All that.
So it was during the what is it, the soccer convention that they have every year in January.
Hmm.
And it's the same time where they're doing the coaches convention and they're doing the All-American announcements. On one of the days they have the draft.
Hmm.
And basically they just had this, not ballroom, but like presentation room. And it was way more professionally done than I thought it was going to be. Like they had all the tables with the coaches sitting there and they all had their laptops and their phones because, they're calling, talking about trades. Do you want this player,
Yeah.
allocation? And I didn't know any of this was going on at the time until I was sitting there watching. It was like, this player was picked to Chicago. Oh, but Chicago has taken their rights and given them money. And it was such a cool process because I didn't know much about the football business side at that moment. And to be in the room to watch all of this happen and to have,
Hmm.
girls that I played against throughout my college career or had watched play, we were all sitting in this room together. Um, just waiting for hopefully our moment. And I remember sitting
Hmm.
there with my parents, not having any idea of when I would be called. I was kind of thinking like maybe third or fourth round. And I was wearing heels and my feet were uncomfortable. And I took my shoes off literally maybe two names before I was called. I was just sitting there relaxing, enjoying the moment. And then they're like, for the 16th selection, Kansas City chooses Brianne Reed. And I was like, me? They
Oh,
chose
so
me?
they announced it, and that was the first time
Yep.
you knew that you were going.
Exactly. So I had
Wow.
an idea that it was either going to be Sky Blue or Kansas City. But again, I just didn't know where in,
Hmm.
like, if it was first, second, third, fourth round. So I just made myself comfortable. And then they called me, and I'm pretty sure the camera like panned over and you can see me like scrambling to get my shoes back on because then you have to walk up to the podium. And they told me I didn't need to make a speech, but they lead you up to the podium. And I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, they told me
Oh
I didn't have to
wow.
say anything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I got up there and I think I just like I thank God, I thank my parents, and truly it was just a surreal moment uh,
Hmm.
to stand up there and have achieved a dream that just came so much later in my life. Like I said, it wasn't like I was 4 years old saying I wanted to play professional soccer. Like, no, I
Hmm.
probably didn't realize it until 6 or 7 months before that. And it just everything just happened so fast. But it was such a cool moment. I got my scarf with Kansas City. I took a picture. Vlatko was the coach at the time, the former
Hmm.
national coach. Took a picture with him, and then just went out to dinner with my family, and it was an awesome day.
So how quick was that turnaround though, from being selected, so you got to go to Kansas City?
The draft was middle of January, and I think I had to report out to Kansas City in middle or end of February. And because that I didn't really plan for any of this, I had an apartment at school. I was under a lease. I was still in classes. Like everything just became kind of complicated. Even though I had
Yeah.
just had this cool, incredible moment, I was just like, wait, logistically, how does this work? Because
Right.
all of my classes were in person. I was
Hmm.
in an internship. I had a lease. I needed to find someone either to sublet or figure out some kind of situation. So in a moment, I was excited. And then I remember getting back to campus of like, I have to figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
My option was to either stay at school and finish and graduate in May and then go to Kansas City. But then I also knew that I was jeopardizing my chance of getting a contract because if I show up in May, maybe they've given out all the contracts.
Hmm.
Um, versus if I go now, maybe I can earn my contract, but then what do I do about school?
Yeah.
So it was a lot to balance, but luckily my academic advisor was an angel.
Hmm.
I was in the School of Public Health and Policy, something like that.
Hmm.
And they were just so excited for me that they helped adjust my schedule. So we moved all of my classes online. And then the internship that I had, I was working with Johnson and Johnson. They also let me go fully remote so that I was able to do my presentation and everything from Kansas City. So within a month, I packed up and
Wow.
I took one of my friends with me and drove 17 hours to Kansas City.
Wow, wow. Well, that's amazing though that your school and internship, everybody was like, excited for you and help you be able to do both. Go out
Yeah,
there early.
It really just felt like it was meant to be
Yeah.
because there were so many obstacles and hurdles of things that could have made it not work. And for it to all align, for me to be able to go out to Kansas City, and then I was able to eventually come back for my graduation to be able to like graduate with my friends in May. And then I went back for a game the next day. But it was so cool to see how it all worked out.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you get out to Kansas City. What was, your first season like over there?
Again, I think you mentioned it before, your welcome to the league moment.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that at Kansas City. I was so excited to be there because I was going to get to play alongside, well, hopefully, but train with Becky Sauerbrunn, who
Legend.
was national team captain at the
Hmm.
time, one of my idols. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I get to share the field with her. This is going to be so incredible.
Hmm.
And we would break up into defensive units, offensive unit, midfield unit, and do specific training. And I remember being in awe at the way that she trained and the way that she read the game. And I just remember in that moment, I was like, this is what it's like to be a pro. Like,
Yeah.
I am not there yet. I've got a ways to go, but it's so awesome to be in this environment to see what my next level could be. Because I
Hmm.
knew going into Kansas City, I think I always went in with the what's the word I'm looking for? The impression that I was just going to be a sponge. My
Hmm.
first year, I was if I got field time, if I got playing time, awesome. But I just wanted to use my first year to soak up everything that I could.
Yeah.
And I think that was the best approach that I took because of course there was disappointments. There were times that I wanted to play, I wanted to be on the field. Um, but genuinely, I was just so happy to be there and excited to be in that environment. Um, that I think that took over more than the frustration. However,
Hmm.
getting left off of rosters and getting left home from games when the teams are traveling, those were real realities. And knowing that every weekend was going to come around and I was going to have to go get on the treadmill or the arc and do a workout because I wasn't going to be getting any minutes on the weekend. That was difficult, but I just loved the training environment that I was in. And I was like, the longer that I'm around this, the more that I'm going to improve and the more likely I am to eventually get my time on the field.
Yeah, yeah. So you kind of treated your first year as like a red shirt year, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a
So
great way to put
then,
it.
yeah. So then your second season, what was your goal then?
Yeah. So I'd left my first season. I think I played in maybe 6 or 7 games when the girls
Hmm.
had, I think they had Olympic duties. And I finally got some time on the field again at
Hmm.
fullback.
Okay.
Um, that kind of came back full circle.
Yeah, yeah.
But I left that first season kind of feeling like really fueled. I was like, okay, I know what to expect now. When I go back
Hmm.
in next year, I'm not a rookie. I'm going to put in so much work in the off season to see if I can earn a spot, a consistent spot on the field. So I went home, I worked my ass off. I'd like did everything I could to come back for this next season to give myself the best chance of playing. And I know I improved. I know I got better because I got back and people said, you look great.
Hmm.
But the reality was, I just wasn't going to play over Becky. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain about that. The other center back at the time was Yael Averbush, like another legend. Like these were
Hmm.
two seasoned veterans. And I understood that I wasn't going to play over them. Of course, I
Yeah.
wanted to, but I just recognized that. And I had a conversation um, with the coach and just basically asking, what more can I do? And he was like, you need more experience. And I said to him, I was like, how am I supposed to get the experience if you're not putting me on the field? There's just
Yep.
like this
Yep.
loop. And I know so many players have heard that before. Um, so I had a teammate at the time at Kansas City who had played abroad. And she
Okay.
said, Bree, you should consider going to my old team in Sweden. They need a center back. And before I had an international career, I was a homebody. Like
Hmm.
I liked being near my family. I liked being around my friends. I'd never been to Europe. The thought had never really crossed my mind. And when she said Sweden, I was like, I don't know the language. Like I
Hmm.
don't really know where this is on a map. Like I don't know if I want to do this. But then I spoke with the coach again and I told him about the opportunity, and he was like, it was truly one of the nicest things I think a coach could have done. He said, if
Hmm.
you were my daughter, I would tell you to go. And I was like, that's all I needed to hear. And I
Yeah.
can't tell you how much I appreciated that honesty. I don't need you to lie to me and tell me, keep working, you're going to get on the field. No, if you don't see me in your plans, tell me so that I can go get the experience that you want. And then
Right.
who knows, 2, 3 years from now, I can come back to you and be like, listen, I went and got some experience. If you don't want me now, fine. You don't think I'm a good enough player. That is your opinion.
Hmm.
But you can't say that I don't have the experience. So
Hmm.
I really appreciated that. I made the decision to go. So I left halfway through the season in the NWSL, and I went to go play for a team in first division in Damallsvenskan in Sweden.
Hmm.
And I loved it because I was playing again. I hadn't played in, I don't know, like consistently in a year and a half since college.
Right.
And it's so nice to be relied on again and to be believed in and knowing that the team wanted me on the field. It was
Hmm.
just so refreshing and I feel like gave me new life and kind of breathed back life into my soccer career that had just kind of been um, stagnant for a bit in the
Hmm.
NWSL. And it was an easy, I say easy in quotes, transition because it was only 3 months. I was like, I can do this for 3 months. If I hate Sweden, I never have to go back again. But if I love
Right.
it, then maybe I've opened new doors.
Hmm.
And I ended up loving it. And by the time the 3 months was over, I was like, I think I always had my mindset of like, I'm going to go back to the NWSL. And even that season, after my first half season in Sweden, I was still, trying to knock on doors, trying to talk to GMs of, I think I was trying to maybe go back to Sky Blue. And again, they were just kind of giving me fuzzy answers of like, yeah, we'll look at it. We'll let you know. And
Yeah.
like, this doesn't sound very promising.
Right. Right.
So I ended up following the coach that I had on that first team in Sweden to another team in Sweden and did a year there. And I think that solidified me enjoying playing in Europe,
Hmm.
that I got to the point that I was like, the NWSL will hopefully and still is, will always be there. You
Hmm.
can always go back, but why don't you just enjoy this journey that you have here now?
Right. Right. So wow, wow, that's interesting. So you were out there in Kansas City for a season and a half,
Mhm.
weren't playing consistently, went out to Sweden, found, is this like fair to say you found the love again?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so you found the love again in playing consistently. What was Sweden like? So you were there for 3 months, then you came back and played a whole season. You must have
Yeah,
liked Sweden just a little bit.
I did. I liked it way more than I had expected.
Hmm.
I just really liked the pace and the culture. Like college soccer was just a grind. And it
Yeah.
was constantly like, you're here, you're at class, you're at training, up at 7 a.m. And it was just go, go, go that I got to Sweden. And I was in my first team was like in a small town in a forest. Like when I tell you that there was a bar that all the old men went to, there was a paper mill where everybody worked and where we got lunch, a few grocery stores, and a lake. And the biggest thing in the town was an IKEA, and that's where I would go on my off days. Other
Fire.
than I was on my bike, exploring the little town, exploring the
Yeah.
nature, and it just felt so pure. That is the best
Hmm.
way that I could explain it. That I was like, I think I could do it. I could do another year here. Granted, I moved towns to like more of a city,
Hmm.
but I did really like Sweden. But that second year in Sweden, I ended up getting a back injury pretty early in the season, which had me out for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months.
Damn.
So, I was excited to finally like be on this team, be with this coach, play. The coach that brought me in got fired. I knew he was going to get fired because he really wasn't that good of a coach, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow you because it means I get a contract.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're gonna
I
play
played the game a
consistently
little
too.
bit there.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I ended up getting hurt. A new coach came in and I had come back, and that was my first time really experiencing any kind of injury. Truly,
Hmm.
knock on wood, like I've been healthy a lot of my career. And I'd never had the experience of being out for 3, 4 months. I just expected to come back on the field and pick up right where I left off. And it was very clear to me that that was not the case.
Yeah, yeah.
And the new coach saw that and I think probably questioned my ability, which is fair. I wasn't in the shape that I was. So
Right.
I ended up having to go on loan to another team within Sweden because they actually brought my friend. You remember the friend who I told her she should just go be a doctor and not play
Yeah,
professional
yeah. The
soccer? They
senior.
actually brought her in to replace me.
Wow.
Um, but it was just the soccer world is so small. It always comes back
Right.
around. Um, and we're still good friends. We ended up living together for a bit while we were there.
Hmm.
And I went on loan in this other team, and I kept getting ankle injuries, and I never get ankle injuries. So that second year in Sweden was hard,
Damn,
uh,
yeah.
because it just wasn't the year that I thought it was going to be.
Hmm.
So I started to think about going back home. I was like, maybe I just need to like go home and reset.
Hmm.
And again, I thought about the NWSL because it was there. There's a team in my home state. I was like, can we make this happen?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't. So I decided to take an opportunity for a team in Denmark that was second division, trying to get promoted. And I was like, I don't know what the level is going to be like there. Like I was probably a little bit on my high horse of like, I played top division in the US, I played top division in Sweden. Why would I go to Division 2 in
Hmm.
Denmark? But at the time, it was my only option. And I was like, if I want to play, this is what I have to take.
Yeah.
And the best decision I made, I took the contract. We ended up getting promoted, and I ended up staying at that club for almost 4 years.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
it was then one of my favorite places that I've played. I've met really good friends. One of the girls that I played with there is now the sports director at that club. Like, I just really aligned with the
Wow.
club and its values and the way that they cared for players. You weren't just a number because it was a smaller club.
Hmm.
Um, I felt like I had personal connections with people in the front office. Like I knew the chef, I knew the social media guy, I knew the guy who worked the fan shop. It was just a really felt like a close-knit community, and I felt like I really put roots down there. So that the club is FC Northland, and it will always have a special place in my heart.
Yeah, it sounds just like a big family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that also that kind of sense of, tight knit community and everything like that probably helped you excel on the field as well.
Yes. I just felt it felt like a home away from home. And when you
Yeah,
feel comfortable somewhere, your performance benefits because of that.
of course, of course. So what happened after Denmark? You were there for 4 years. Was it,
Yep.
you wanting a new challenge?
Yeah, I think it
Okay.
was just time. I had served my time there, and I think I was just ready for something new. And I had always had in my head that I wanted to play in Australia. I didn't have any reason other than the fact that I wanted to go to Australia.
Okay.
And at the time, I actually had an Australian teammate, and I said to her, I was like, I think I want to play in Australia. What do I do?
Hmm.
And she connected me with her agent and kind of passed my info along, and he passed it along to a team. And my move to Australia was very calculated. I knew that I wanted to go to Australia that year because that was also the year that the World Cup was happening. So I
Okay.
was like, if I go to Australia now, I'll be there for when the World Cup happens. I'll get to go to games. Like I had a handful of friends that were playing for different teams that I was going to
Hmm.
get to see play in person. So I was like, I want to make this happen. And my goal was to play in A League. Um, but they just have so few international spots. The window, the timing wasn't great. That I agreed to take a contract with NPL, which is essentially second division Australia,
Hmm.
except you can't get promoted into the A League.
I see.
And I didn't know what to expect in terms of the
Right.
level. And it was definitely lower than what I had been playing in. Um, and I found out that it was actually semi-professional. So we only trained 3 times a week. We played it on the weekend. It
Oh,
was
wow.
more like it was just very relaxed. And I
Yeah.
hadn't been in a relaxed environment like that pretty much ever. Like at my club in Denmark, we were film, meeting, meals
Hmm.
together, trips away, and this was just way more relaxed. And I felt myself like I was super uptight in the beginning. I was like, why is nobody taking this seriously?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I was the crazy girl. And then I realized that I was like, these girls, they work full-time jobs. Like they're playing this because they love the game. Like they would work from 9 to 5, and then we'd have training at 7, and then we play a game on the weekend. Like this wasn't their full-time job.
Right, right.
I could feel the friction in between that because I'd moved my life to Australia to play soccer, not
Hmm.
to work. Um, but once I kind of got in my head that I was like, okay, I need to take a different approach to this. Like, you want to make the most of this, you want to enjoy it, change your mindset of what this is going to be. What is this
Yeah,
going to be for you? And it was really just a time to enjoy playing, enjoy the country, enjoy the experience. And I feel like I really got to build my confidence back up again because from my NWSL experience, not playing a lot, it took a
mhm,
hit. After having an injury, it took a hit. when I got to the towards the end of my career in Denmark, I wasn't playing consistently as much anymore. My confidence had just taken a hit
Yeah,
consistently.
yeah,
Then I went to Australia and I was like, I I was probably one of the better players on the team. I remember the coach saying to me, he's like, "Why do you want to play here? Like, you've played in top leagues of Europe. Like, why are you here?" And I was like,
yeah,
"I want to be here. I wanted to play in Australia, and if this is my opportunity, then I'm going to take it." And it did wonders for my confidence. Like, I played like I've never played before. I was scoring goals. I was just
okay.
having so much fun
Hmm.
and just loving the country that I was in too.
So was it kind of like a one season and that's it? Was that like kind of your
Yeah,
mindset?
I literally played with them for a season. I won a championship and then I left.
Now, where did you go after that?
After that, I was contemplating retirement,
Okay.
just because I just wasn't sure what was next. And I'd been away from home for so many years. I was missing my family and friends. I was tired of missing weddings, my friends having
Hmm.
babies. I just felt like I was missing a lot of life, especially in Australia. I was almost a day ahead of everybody, and I
Yeah.
just felt the timing was just crazy. That I considered maybe retiring, and then an opportunity came up in Portugal that kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, I'd never thought of Portugal, but I'll go. It was again
Yeah.
for a half season, and it was I was so pleasantly surprised by my time in Portugal. I didn't know much about the league, so I didn't really have any preconceived notions going in. I just went to see it for what it was, and my team was very underfunded.
Damn.
Like our resources were very low,
Hmm.
but we just had a bunch of girls who were like very gritty and wanted to play. And we ended up finishing fourth in the league. And if you looked at our facilities, you would have been like, how did this team succeed? But
Wow.
I just think it was because we just like we looked past that stuff, even though that stuff matters and it's important. We just wanted to play and we wanted to win games. And
Hmm.
I think it showed on the field and we got results that ended up having us do really well.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
out of all your whole career of moving around everywhere and playing so many different seasons, where did the Dominican Republic come from?
So my mom is from the Dominican Republic. And I remember
Okay.
thinking when I was like 15 or 16, I had a random thought when I saw other girls playing for national teams. I was like, I want to play for a national team. And realistically, my chances of playing for the US are not the highest. Does the Dominican Republic have a national team? And I remember going on Wikipedia and looking it up. And there was a chart that showed the tournaments that the Dominican Republic had entered, and it was like, did not register, did not register, did not register. Like they just weren't entering tournaments.
Damn.
And then finally they had entered something, and then I think they lost to the US like 14 nothing. I saw in there and I was like, oh my gosh, is this what I want to get involved in?
That's worse than that Virginia 6-0 loss.
Exactly. But I kind of put it on the back burner. I was
Mhm.
moving around in my career, hadn't really thought of it. And then in 2021, the idea came up again. And my dad loves to do research. So I put my dad on the case. I was like, Dad, I think I want to play for the national team. I don't know how to do this.
Mhm.
Go do your
Help.
research. Help me.
Yeah, yeah.
And he found an email to the for the federation, and we wrote an email, and I basically said to the federation, like, hi, I'm Brianne Reed. You wouldn't know I'm Dominican because my name is probably one of the most white names you've ever seen. And you might not know, but I would love to play for your national team. My mom is Dominican. She was born there.
Mm.
I can get my passport. I just want you to know that I exist.
Yeah.
And I guess he's a father of one of the girls on our team, but he's like our unofficial recruiter. Had reached out and he was like, would you be like interested in coming to our next camp, which was in July in Panama? And I was like, yes, please, like whatever I need to do, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've been playing with the national team, and even amongst all the places that I've played, my national team is the most rewarding part of my soccer career. I love playing for the team, regardless of the fact that our federation is has money issues, and we played in the Gold Cup last year and we haven't had a camp in more than a year. Like I still
Wow.
just love playing for the Dominican Republic so much, and any opportunity I get a chance to put on that jersey and meet with my team wherever in the world it is, it's the best.
So I think I looked this up and everything. You're retired club-wise,
Yes.
but you're still playing internationally for the
Yes.
Dominican Republic?
Yep.
Okay, okay, okay. I see, I see. So
Yeah.
did you play
So
in that Gold Cup?
yeah, we did.
Okay.
We had to play a qualifier game to be able to actually play in the Gold Cup. So we won that game in LA like 2 or 3 days before the tournament started.
Hmm.
And then we were officially in the Gold Cup, that was the first ever women's Gold Cup.
Yeah.
And that was the first ever major tournament that we qualified for. So it was historic for the Dominican Republic. And granted, we played the US, Mexico, and Argentina and lost all the games.
Oof,
But
that's tough.
it was a tough lineup.
Hmm.
But I just remember playing against the US and I was like, never in my life would I have thought that I would get a chance. Of course, I maybe had moments where I was like, I'd love to play for the US national team, but to have the script flipped
Yeah,
and for play for the Dominican Republic against the national team in the country that I was born in, but representing my mom's country was one of the most beautiful things ever. And I had my parents there in the stands. It was incredible.
that's amazing. And you were playing consistently with the Dominican in the Gold Cup?
Yep, yep. So for the national team, I myself and my best friend, we play next to each other as center backs, and we're kind of mainstays in the defense, which is why I have the privilege of being able to play for my national team, but not a club.
Hmm.
There's not that many Dominicans that play soccer. We don't have a huge pool of players to
Hmm.
choose from. And I know there's going to come a time where I know there is because I know there's young center backs that are on our team now that are going to be ready to take my place. And I want to play for as long as my body will let me, as long as this national team will let me, or until we have those players that are ready to take over.
Yeah,
So until then, I will happily put on that jersey.
yeah, yeah. So what made you ultimately decide to retire club-wise?
I think I'd just come to a point where I was tired of moving around and being
Hmm.
away from home. I, right after Portugal, I was in Canada for a few months and I just felt it. I had been thinking about retirement for like a year and a half,
Hmm.
but I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And it didn't feel right for me to stop playing when I still loved the game so much and I was healthy, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And the reality was opportunities were still coming to me and knocking on my door that I was like, why would I say no if I don't know what else I want to do? Like if people
Yeah.
still want me to play and I'm still good enough, like enjoy that.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what Canada was, that I was almost ready for retirement, but this opportunity came and I was like, sure, why not?
Right.
I was just ready to move on. I feel like I had done so much in my career. I'd been so many places. I felt like I'd made a good impact that I was finally in a good place in my heart that I was like, you've done so much.
Yeah.
You have so much to be proud of. The only thing that I didn't do that I would have wanted to was Champions League. Um, but I was just so happy with what I'd done that I felt like I was okay being done at the club level.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Wow. What a story. You had a very interesting club story, everything. I mean, you can just hear like resilience, perseverance, everything. So, no, congratulations on your club career. Um,
Thank you so much.
Kind of excited to see, what you do with the Dominican going forward. Trying to
Me
see
too.
maybe you get, more camps, go out there, play more games.
I
Definitely be
hope
watching
so.
you. But yeah, let's go ahead and attack some of these Instagram questions.
Okay.
Um, got a few on here. Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay.
Okay, first one. What are you doing in the meantime now?
So funny you should ask. I have a business with two of my friends called the Players Network,
Hmm.
and it's basically we're like the best way I can describe it is like a women's soccer, professional soccer sorority. It's a community built by players for players to help empower players. And when I was playing abroad, I knew I was playing against other Americans, other internationals, and I was like, we play against each other. Like, why aren't we friends? Like, let's hang out. And it kind of started with that of wanting more community in the places that I was.
Yeah.
And then it grew into realizing that there was just a lack of knowledge and understanding of what it takes to go pro. Not in terms of like, this is like how you need to be training, but more of like, what countries can I play in? Do I need an agent? What are the transfer windows? Like all of these things that become basic knowledge when you've been playing for a while. But when you're fresh out of college, you don't have any understanding.
Mm,
Like you know about the NWSL and you know about the USL, and then that's pretty much it. So we kind of wanted to fill that gap of players not knowing what to do and to be a resource. So we've got this group chat of like 450 something, either aspiring players, current players, or retired players. And it's just a place where people share information. So people ask about agents, people ask about teams. Someone's like, hey, I'm moving to Spain to play for this team and I have to get my own apartment. Has anybody done this before? And when you have 450 girls who've played all over the world, there's probably someone who's been in an experience that you've been in that can help guide you. So that has been my passion project of the time. I do hope the Players Network grows into something that can be my full-time job.
mm.
So that has been my little side project. And then I'm back home. I do some individual one-on-one coaching, but I like to try and dedicate a lot of my time to the Players Network to help that grow.
And you're back in New Jersey.
Yep, back in New Jersey.
Okay, all right. That sounds amazing though. What's it called again? The Players
The
Network?
Players Network.
Okay, so basically it's kind of like just bridging the gap of lack of knowledge from going collegiately to professional overseas.
Yep, and then
Okay.
connecting the ones that are already pros to a network of people who are doing similar things. Because I realized once I was playing, a lot of my friends had stopped playing, and
Hmm.
I couldn't complain to my friend who had two children about, oh man, I'm about to move to Portugal. Like this is so stressful. Like they don't get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Different world.
So to have a community of people who understand has been really, really helpful.
Okay. All right. Wow, that's amazing still. Let me go ahead and ask another one real quick. Favorite favorite player you played against?
Oh,
So I don't know how you want to attack this question. So someone gave you the most problems or someone that you played very well against?
oh, that's a great question. I mean, I didn't directly have to play against her because she's also a center back, but playing against Naomi Girma in the Gold Cup was just incredible. I
Yeah.
I think she's such an incredible player. If I was a young player, a young center back, like she's absolutely who I would look up to. I still look up to her even though I'm older than her. Like
Yeah,
what
that's a
she's
baller.
done in that position at such a young age to just be so dominant and so competent. I love watching her play and getting to share a field with her was just a really cool moment.
That's a player that needs more flowers too, I
A
think.
100%. Give her all the
I
flowers.
think, in facts. And how was that experience playing in the Gold Cup? I know we didn't touch on that.
It was, again, a wake-up call.
Hmm.
Dominican Republic, I think we're ranked like 104 in the world. Meanwhile, we're playing against the US, who was maybe number one. Mexico was number eight. Argentina was number
Yeah.
30 something. Like we were in over our heads, but it was so good, I think, for myself and for our younger players to see where we need to get to. Like
Hmm.
knowing that this is what the next level is, this is where these players are, these are where their federations are. We've got a lot of work to do, but it doesn't mean we can't get there. We just have a lot of work to do to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. So it's safe to say, your biggest goal while playing for the Dominican Republic is to get them to that level or take the right steps towards that level.
If I can, I know a lot of players say it, but you want to leave a team better than you found it.
Hmm.
And if I can leave the Dominican national team where they're at a place where they're consistently having camp, they're consistently qualifying for Gold Cup and major tournaments. I would love to get to a World Cup before I'm done with them, but that might not happen in my timeline. But
Hmm.
I've already seen the progress that we've made. And I think our federation is starting to see it. We just need them to continue to invest in that so that we can continue to move up the ranking and become better.
Yeah. All right. So last question, and let's leave it at this. What's one piece of advice you would give to a athlete that has these aspirations of playing collegiately, professionally, maybe even internationally?
My favorite piece of advice is just stay your course, stay in your lane, focus on what you're doing. The times that I felt the most discouraged or frustrated was when I was looking at what somebody else was doing. If you listen to this whole podcast, my story is very unconventional from a lot of players. And I think had I been looking right and left on my way when I was in club and in high school, I would have been maybe frustrated with where I was at. But you're exactly where you are for a reason. The talents, the gifts that you have, they're going to grow if you water them and you focus on them and yourself. So, as much as you can keep your head from swiveling all around to
Mhm.
what's going on, obviously you want to be inspired by people around you. But if that's becoming a detriment and you are beating yourself up on it, then focus on you.
Yeah, and to go off of that, comparison is the killer of all joy.
It is.
Yeah. Well, listen, Bree, thank you so much for coming on, sharing, your whole story. I know I, for one, loved hearing about it, was inspired by it. I know if anyone listens to the whole thing, they're gonna feel the same way.
Yeah, thanks so much for letting me on here to share this. It's been a while since I've gone all the way back, so this was fun.
Yeah, of course, of course.